Hey everyone, this is Avani from Hatchcraft Heirlooms, and I am coming to you today from Instagram only. Usually I do Facebook and Instagram at the same time, and then after the fact, assuming that I have a video to upload, I send it to YouTube. Today, hey Brooke, I'm glad you're here because I am having crazy internet issues. I cannot get any of my tablets to connect to my Wi-Fi. I wasn't even able to print off my outline, which is also really frustrating, but I have it up on a screen at least. And yeah, so I'm only on Instagram right now, which totally sucks, which is why I'm a little bit behind. I'm also realizing that I don't have a tarot deck in here with me, so I might have to power surge in the USB port. Oh, we can ignore that. And actually, I will, yes, alright, I'm going to re-plug in my light, and while we wait for folks to join us real quick, I'm going to go grab a tarot deck. Good God. This is such a disaster here today, let me tell you. Alright, while this is deciding to come back up, I'll be right back. I'll wait for people to join. Alright, super sorry about that. So yeah, I've been futzing around with my internet for like 20 minutes and it was not cooperating. So there we go. Now we have light. Now we have tarot decks. There we go. I was going to say, even like Instagram is being weird. Everything is weird. I hope you can see me. I hope everything is fine. In my pre-show today, your hat looks great. Thank you! I made this hat a couple of years ago for Yule. And as you might imagine, I get very, very few instances to wear it, so I'm glad that you like it. And I meant to actually change my shirt to match more, but oh well. Again, I was so busy trying to get everything to work right that I did not get a chance to do that thing. So, I'm going to do this in the post and the pre-show. So I have a collection of curated items. Some of them are things that are kind of Yule related. Some of them, well, they're all kind of related to Yule in their own way. Hey, Plants Breathe. Going to be talking about how to celebrate Yule today. We're still in the pre-show while we wait for folks to show up. I started a little bit late because I'm having crazy internet issues, and I'm only on Instagram right now, which kind of sucks because I usually have people that join me from Facebook who are unable to do that, which really blows. But I am going to upload this after the fact so they can still watch it and upload it to YouTube. At least that's the plan. Hope you like my very much last minute backdrop here. It's actually one of my Queen Persephone, or I think it was, yeah, Queen Persephone scarves, the one I kept for myself. Anyway, I decided it was a lot prettier than the crazy collection of jewelry organizers that are an altar that's behind me, so I put this up so it'd be a little bit cleaner to look at. Anyway, so let me show you some of these items I have. Some of these, so these are all, in my opinion, themed for Yule, but they're not Yule specific items. The first thing I want to show you is this beautiful sunstone and copper wire wrap. Sunstone is associated with Yule because it's associated with the sun. It's the winter solstice, which is all about the sun being reborn. This piece was originally listed at $120, and right now it's 75% off, which means that it is only $30. And I would love to see this piece go to a home where it'll be appreciated. I love this. It's probably actually one of my favorites I've ever made. Hey, Pink Sage. Hey, Michelle. Let me wave to everybody. I was just saying I'm only on Instagram right now because my internet's being weird, so if things get a little bit choppy, I apologize. I'm doing my best. So this is only $30 today. And normally $120. This is handmade by me, by yours truly. It's part of the stock I'm trying to clear out. So if you like it, let me know. It can be yours today. This is actually an item that I made really recently, and I never even got around to listing on my website. It's a sterling silver wire wrapped, sorry, that's really not focusing, wire wrapped piece of peach moonstone, which is not exclusively summer solstice, but to me the peach moonstone and the sunstone are very similar colors, so to me it feels kind of winter solstice-y. Hey Flora Skin Lab, here going to be talking about how to celebrate Yule here in a minute. I was just showing off a few things. This piece I probably would have listed for like $50, so if that's 75% off, that means that it's only $12.50, which is like super dirt cheap. So if you like it, it could be yours today. Let me know in a comment, let me know in a DM, and it could be yours. I'll show you one more thing and then I'll hop into everything. I've got a few more items for later, but I don't want to keep people waiting too long because I feel like I already did that today. Also, this is my Winter Sun Ritual Anointing Oil. Here, focus. There we go. Hey, Brittany with the dreads. We're here going to be talking about how to celebrate Yule today. But you can see here it has black-eyed Susan petals in it, and juniper tips, and sage, and gold foil. It smells like a combination of citrus with like spices. Like think of like when you do like mulling spices. That's kind of what this smells like, which is wonderfully festive, and it's really intended to be used for your Yule celebrations, or you could use it any time of year. If you love these, I think that this is listed at like $14. So if that's 75% off, that's $3.75. Yeah, I think that, no, $3.25. Something like that. Between $3 and $4, but it's cheap, that's the point. So if you want it, let me know. You get that at a really good, really decent discount tonight. I actually think that I've removed this from my Etsy store, which means you can't get it anywhere else this year except for here with me today. So if you want one, let me know. They smell lovely. This is the last oil that I'm going to be selling in these containers, and from here on out I'm planning on doing magical oils in vintage containers, which means that they're going to be a little bit pricier, although prettier bottles. So last time you got my oils at this price. So anyway, let's hop into talking about Yule because I have a lot to talk about today, and I don't want to miss anything. Let's talk a little bit about the history of Yule. You know, if you've been with me for a while, if you've watched my videos, you probably know that I like to start these videos off talking about the history and origin of different things, because I feel like that really gives us a lot of insight into the way things are in the present. Hi, Kadwala. Well, hold on. Go away. Kadwalawi. There we go. Look at that. I said it. Welcome. We're here today to talk about how to celebrate Yule. We're just about to talk about the history of it. So solstices were, in particular, so both the summer and the winter solstice were really, really big deals in agrarian cultures in particular, which you know, a lot of Europe was. Because, especially Northern European countries, talking about the UK, Ireland, you know, in Eastern Europe too, the growing season was very, very short. So the idea of the sun going away and coming back was a really, really, really big deal. So the solstices, the summer and the winter solstice, were really a really, really big cause for celebration. And the winter solstice obviously is no different, you know, and it was a big deal because at the winter solstice, the days finally started getting longer again, which means that there was proof positive that the sun and the summer would once again come, meaning that they would be able to have a growing season once again. You know, back then they didn't have quite the same understanding of the cycles of the moon and the sun, all the things that we do now. So, you know, for it to happen every year was like, woohoo! We're gonna make one more year. We're gonna do it. So every different cultures throughout history had different winter solstice celebrations. One of the oldest that we know of was actually in Egypt, and if it had a name, I was unable to find it. But it celebrated the rebirth of their sun god Horus. And their celebration was a 12-day long festival, and you'll notice that the number 12 becomes a theme as we move through these. And one of the most common ways that they would celebrate would be to decorate with greenery. The most common of which was actually 12-leaved palm fronds, one leaf for each month of the year. Although, or generally speaking, I mean, obviously, it's weird. I don't completely understand how the calendars work, you know, because we have a Gregorian calendar, which is much more modern than whatever calendar the Egyptians were using. And it's certainly, you know, if they were going by a lunar calendar, it would have been 13. But the point is 12-leaf palm fronds were their thing, because it was, you know, one frond for each month in the year. And that festival inspired one for the Babylonians called Zagmuk, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correct because I've only ever read it. And it celebrated their sun god named Marduk. And this particular celebration started 5 days before the solstice and then lasted 6 days after. And one of the ways that they usually celebrated involved exchanging gifts, big parties and celebrations, and parades. And that celebration inspired a festival celebration, again, probably mispronouncing it, called Sacea or Again, only read the word. It's spelled Sacaea if you want to look it up. So that was in Greece and in Persia. And in their festival, the ways that they often celebrated involving having masters and slaves switch places, switch roles. So they would have a mock king crowned, who was normally obviously a slave. So it was a slave in charge of everybody. Just a way to kind of like shake things up and do something different. It was the way they celebrated. And during that time, grudges and debts and arguments were sort of temporarily just forgotten and pushed to the side for the sake of celebrating. And Sacea inspired the Romans to develop their festival, which was called Saturnalia, which a lot of people have heard of in the neo-pagan realm, of course. And it was very, very similar to the Greek-Persian celebration, so a lot of the things I already said are what the Romans did as well. I'm sure if you know anything about mythology and Greco-Roman culture, you know that there's a lot of crossover, because the Romans looked at the Greeks and said, whoa, that's pretty cool, let's do that too. Gods, holidays, you name it. So they also used to crown a king in the same way, a mock king. But they gave it a specific name. They referred to him as the Lord of Misrule. So if you've ever heard that term, the Lord of Misrule, it comes from Saturnalia. And the ways that they would celebrate involved lighting candles and bonfires to chase away evil spirits, and also to encourage the rebirth of the sun. So sun, fire, they kind of go together, both in magic and ritual and history. So the idea was by having the bright fires burning, it was a type of sympathetic magic. Well, if I burn fire, then the sun's fire will also burn and return to the earth. And they would also have parades and parties and feasts, and the occasional gift giving, which was inspired by the Babylonians. So the Babylonians is where the idea of gift giving at this time of year kind of originated. And the other, so Saturnalia is one of the more recent historical holidays that we know that kind of helps shape our modern holiday traditions. The other one that is really common, which is not, so a lot of these things I was talking about were sort of like Eastern Europe and Eurasia centric, and then a little bit of Africa too, because we're talking about Egypt. But if we go over to Northern Europe and Germany, up north more, there was also the Germanic folk, the Slavic folk who had Yule. And their celebration also was 12 days long, but unlike the others where it started before and ended after, this one would start on the solstice and lasted for 12 days. And traditionally, what they would do to celebrate is they would hold a vigil for the sun to rise, meaning they would stay up all night, often with candles and bonfires and what have you. Again, that same kind of sympathetic magic to help encourage the sun to be reborn again. They would also have feasts and focus on celebrating with family. And a common thing that came out of their celebration that we still use in our modern neo-pagan practice is the Yule log. And it was often burned on the night of the solstice, also called Mother Night. So there was a little bit of a focus on, I believe, Frigg, and Skadi, which is she's a frost giant goddess. And during that time, I think you get the idea of the goddess gestating and creating this new life through meaning the sun, or the sun god being reborn. Or actually in Norse Germanic mythology, the sun is a female deity, not a male deity, so that could be part of why it's called Mother's Night also. But the Yule log originated with the Norse Germanic people, and I read in a source very recently that apparently the idea was that the Yule log was also supposed to represent, pines and evergreens in general actually represent the idea of immortality and eternal life that sort of lives through the winter, and it to still remain to grow in the spring, because not a lot of things did. So the fact that the evergreen trees did was a big deal. So it in and of itself represented the power of life over death, so to speak. But there was also some evidence to suggest that the Yule log also represented Yggdrasil, or the world tree, which was sort of like the axis mundi of the whole cosmos in their mythology. And it represented the idea of permanence, the idea of, hey, floriculture, wow, I can't say that, floriculture, well, anyway, hello, glad you're here. We're here to talk about how to celebrate Yule. Glad you could make it. But Yggdrasil was the world tree, and the world tree is eternal. So the idea that they would bring it inside to sort of, again, sympathetically tap into the magic of immortality and the power of life over death as they were going through the darkest nights of the year, waiting for the days to become longer once again. So that's kind of a really, really quick overview of sort of winter solstice celebrations through history, and have kind of led us to where we are today, and why many of us choose to celebrate the way that we do. So if you're looking for ways to celebrate the holiday, here are some things that you can do that kind of tap into that sort of ancestral, old, historical practice. Light candles or have a bonfire. Obviously not a ton of people want to be outside because it's cold, it's winter, etc., etc. But you could also, lighting candles inside is just as effective. One thing that I've done before, like I think last year, it was right after my son was born, and I was just exhausted and tired, and he was like a month and change old, and I was like, I don't think I can manage a real ritual this year, which is fine, of course. So what I did instead was I literally just lit and I was up till all hours of the night with the baby, excuse me. So I literally just went around and lit every candle in the house for as long as I could stay awake, and then put them all out, and that was my ritual, and that's absolutely valid. But the idea is, again, that we are chasing away spirits because, and I've talked about this much, much earlier in the season, the idea that the veil, that we talk about at Samhain, the veil being thin, but the veil is thin really, in my opinion, from Samhain until Yule. We're kind of in this complete little section of the year where the veil is thin pretty much the whole time. So there's still this idea of there being a lot of ghost activity and spiritual activity this time of year, so lighting the fires and the candles was a way to kind of chase them away. And again, also sympathetically, my goodness, encourage the sun to return. And anytime you have a solar festival, holiday, especially solstices, there's always tends to be a little bit of a theme of purification. So another thing that you could do would be to purge and clean. Obviously, it could be something like a ritual bath, kind of to take in the energy of the sun, being fresh and new and newly born. Or you could literally just clean. I don't know about you, but for me and my family, like right after the holidays, our house is a disaster. There's so many new things floating around that haven't found their home yet in the house, like their little place where they belong. So doing a little bit of a clean beforehand is always a really nice lead up, I feel like, to the gift giving season, so that there's room for all the new stuff. And then, like I said, staying up all night, holding a vigil for the sun is another popular thing to do. I've actually never done that. I always tell myself that I'm going to, and then I never do. In my defense, I have 4 kids, so I'm exhausted a lot. But I've always loved the idea. So especially if you don't have kids and you're not exhausted all the time like I am, holding a vigil for the sun, a candlelit vigil, is common, again, because you're tapping into the whole fire solar energy. Staying up until dawn, watching the sunrise, or even if you just check the time to see what time the sun rises and get up to watch the sunrise, I think that would also work too. So that's a really lovely thing to do. You can also crown a king or king or queen of misrule, or ruler of misrule, regent of misrule, if you want something that's non-binary. And I love the idea. So if you do have kids, I love this idea because I think it can be a fun way to celebrate, is let the kids be in charge for a whole day. Let them choose a whole day's worth of activities and play, and let them be in charge. I think that's a fun way to kind of tap into that kind of old historical practice too. Of course, baking and feasting, which, food is a big part of every holiday, but especially winter solstice. Or you can create and burn a Yule log. We talked about that a little bit of length earlier today. If you have a fireplace, you can literally just go out and find a log and be like, this is the Yule log, I'm going to burn it now, and that would also suffice. Some people also get really crafty, and they'll drill holes where they can actually fit a candle into it and use it almost like a candle holder. I've also seen on Instagram not too long ago, someone took a log and then a candle and put melted wax on it and then stuck the candle in the wax. I've never had much luck with that, but if you want to try it, go ahead. And the other thing too is that after your Yule log burns down, presuming you're going to Pink Stage Carissa says she would play video games all day if her son took charge. I feel like, and this is a mom thing, I don't know how old your son is. My oldest kiddo is 11, and they love anime. And I don't hate anime, but it's really not my favorite thing. And I have to tell you that one thing, and I know this is like a duh, of course, lady, why didn't you realize this already? But one of the things that I've figured out is, 16, yes. One of the things I've figured out painstakingly is that in order to get kids, once they reach a certain age, to kind of relate to you, you really have to meet them at their level. Hey Brianna E, we are here talking about how to celebrate Yule. This was a suggestion about crowning a king or queen of misrule, especially if you have kids. It could be a fun way to celebrate, so let the kids be in charge for a day. And so yeah, so while watching anime is my absolute favorite thing to do, I find that when I do, that my kid is much more connected and much more willing to talk and want to be spending time with me. And so yeah, so video games might not be your favorite thing, but I bet your son would love if you committed to a whole day of playing with him. And who knows, maybe he'll decide he's tired of video games. Hey, so since we're here talking about how to celebrate Yule, I was just talking about crowning a king of misrule. So especially if you've got kids. Hey Crafty Tail, we're here talking about how to celebrate Yule. We're talking about crowning a king of misrule or a queen of misrule or a regent of misrule if you prefer. Which is especially fun if you've got kids. Let the kids be in charge for a day. Feasting and baking, creating a Yule log, and celebrate the birth of the sun child, which to me is very much akin to a nativity. So if you have a local nativity or live nativity, you can totally go to that, even though it's not exactly pagan. In my opinion, I feel like that's close enough that you can still appreciate it for what it is, or in your own context. And if you have a baby, if you've recently given birth or have a baby, I think that could be a fun way to celebrate too, is you could include the baby in a ritual where the baby is actually playing the part of the sun child, much in the way that your churches probably, used a baby from the congregation to be the baby Jesus. You could totally have your kid or even your pet, if you're a pet mom or dad or parent, have them be your sun child in ritual, which I think could be quite humorous actually. So that said, here are some symbols of the season that you might like to use either in ritual or on altars for your Yule celebrations. If you missed a lot of my celebrations at the beginning, we also talked about the history of Yule. By all means, if you guys want to watch that at the end, feel free to go back and rewatch it. If you're here watching live, hashtag live into the comments. If you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay. It helps the algorithm reach out and find other people that want to watch. But herbs that are associated with Yule. Evergreens. We talked about how evergreens represent the power of immortality and life over death, because evergreens live through the wintertime, unlike all the other broadleaf deciduous trees. So pine, spruce are two in particular that are often associated with the holiday. Other ones that are associated with the holiday that are evergreens that you might not think of is holly. And ivy, which are some of the only broadleaf varieties of evergreens that are out there. And so that's a thing. The holly and the ivy is like a holiday thing that people talk about. Mistletoe. Mistletoe is considered to have protective power. There's a ton of mythology about mistletoe, especially as it relates to Norse, Germanic paganism and heathenry. So if you're interested in mistletoe, I highly recommend going out and doing a little bit of research on it. And citrus fruits. So citrus fruits are always associated with the sun and solar energy, solar power. Not like solar power for electricity, but like the power of the sun. So oranges, lemons, in particular, things that are solar colors, are great things to include on an altar. Bells are also associated with the holiday. Think, bells are used for purification. Candles. Obviously, we talked about the idea of lighting fires to represent the sun and the power of the sun and the rebirth of the sun. The colors you might want to use for your candles would include things like white, red, gold, which there is gold on here, but you can't really see it very well, or green. Gold, so white, red, and gold are kind of all solar colors. The green you would use to represent the idea of evergreen, the power of life over death again. And gemstones that are associated with the holiday include sunstone, which I showed you here. Sunstone, pyrite, moss agate, and bloodstone, / bloodstone, which are actually more or less the same mineral. Bloodstone typically is a dark green with red spots in it, but there are lots of varieties that are being mined that do not have the red in them, that are just green, so those are called bloodstone. So those are all stones that, in my mind, that are associated with the holiday. I didn't get that from any source. That's just me telling you what I think is associated with the holiday. So let me know if you have any questions or anything about Yule that you want to know in particular, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. And while you're doing that, I have some items that are especially for sale for you folks that are here watching today that I'd like to show off. I'll do the first few quick because I did them at the beginning and I don't want to bore people with them. One of them is this beautiful pendant. It was originally $120, hand wrapped by yours truly. Now it is 75% off, which means it is only $33. It is a gorgeous piece. I call this like a floating wrap, so you know the stone kind of looks like it's floating in the middle of the setting, which is quite lovely. And then I also have this peach sterling silver wrapped peach moonstone. Let's see if I can get the camera in focus. Also hand wrapped by yours truly. So I think I figured it out earlier that the price for this one would be something like $12 at 75% off. I never even listed this on my website because I never got to it, and now I'm discontinuing all my wire wraps, so it kind of gets lumped into all the other stuff that's going to get sold. This is no longer on my Etsy. The only place you can get this now is here from me in person if you would like it. This is my Winter Sun Ritual Anointing Oil. Come on, focus. Well, you can kind of see. But it's quite lovely. It's got Black-Eyed Susan, yellow petals in it, which are often represent the sun, gold flakes to represent the sun, juniper to represent evergreens again. There's some white sage in here for purification, and gold foil for the sun also. It smells like a blend of citrus and spice, so like mulling spices. It is very, very festive. I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you ever, when you were a kid, took the orange and put like the cloves, stuck the cloves in it to make designs. That's kind of like what this smells like, and it is delicious. So if you'd like it, this is normally $14, so that means it's like $3.25. So we'll say $3 if you want one. $3 plus shipping, cheap. All right, and then the last few things I'm going to show you are some things from my vintage stock that are on sale. I'm going to have to make guesses, I guess, at the price of what these were because I can't even pull them up. Oh, maybe my internet is finally working. Well, at least I've got that. So I'm going to load Etsy so I can tell you what the original cost is and figure out what your special price is going to be. Let's see. Hope everybody likes my hat. I know that somebody said they liked my hat at the beginning. I made this myself. It's my special Yule witchy hat that I only get to wear like twice a year at best. Alright, let's see. First thing I would like to show you is... Alright, well I'll show you this because I already found it. It's this beautiful ornate vintage bowl. It is solid yellow brass. There might be something inscribed on the bottom, but there's a sticker. I don't dare take it off. It has these beautiful cutouts in it, which is really lovely, and the design in the middle is sort of floral. This is originally $20. If you are interested in it today, it is only $15 plus shipping. I would love to see it to a beautiful home. It has this really lovely scalloped edge too. It's just a beautiful trinket dish or offering bowl, whatever you'd like to use it for. It's just gorgeous. Gorgeous engraved brass. $15, yours today. If you want it, if you're interested, either let me know in a DM or in a comment below and you can claim it. The other thing I want to show you, I didn't have much luck. Does You'll have any religious connection? Define religious. Are we considering Wicca religious? Are we considering Christianity religious? No, it's okay. It's I did at the beginning. I gave a significant overview of the evolution of like winter solstice holidays. Most of Yule is about the return of the sun, which was more important to an agrarian culture. So yeah, of course, you know, part of mythology is kind of personifying supernatural or natural phenomena that they were unable to you know, explain in any other way. You know, so there was always a celebration of the return of the sun god, be it Mithra or Marduk or Horus, you know, and all of those are kind of talked about earlier in the video. So I mean, yes, there is, but I have to preface any answer like this with the information that my opinion of magic and mythology and witchcraft is that it's about 65% psychological placebo, you know, power of, you know, positive mental attitude type stuff, the power of intention, and about 35% of the woo, you know, or what people traditionally think of as magic. But that said, to me, I feel like there's a very fine line between one and the other. To me, they're all magic. You know, I don't think that the idea of a placebo effect or the power of intention or the power of positive mental attitude makes magic any less magical. So, I mean, depends on your definition of religion. Is it connected to Christianity? Not really. You know, there's obviously a lot of history about how the Christians saw that there were a lot of cultures that they were competing with having these kind of winter solstice gatherings, and they go, oh, well, you know, we need a holiday for the birth of our God too, so we'll just kind of roll ours into yours and say that it's the same thing so that you'll celebrate with us, and we'll just pretend that everybody's celebrating the birth of Jesus with us. And that's kind of like ultimately how they kind of just steamrolled everybody, which is a whole other story that I didn't really get too far into here. But I hope that answers your question a little bit. Definitely in modern Wiccan mythology, there's this idea of, you know, the idea that at Samhain, the god, as the goddess's consort, grows old and passes away and moves into the underworld. And during, sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking. And during the period from Samhain to Yule, the goddess is at the end of, well, even earlier in the year before that, I think we're talking Beltane. The god and the goddess get married and they conceive a child, and then at Yule the baby is born, which is actually the god reincarnated, which is, it's a really weird mythology when you really try to look at it in a literal sense. But also we have to think about the fact that in Christian mythology, folklore, story, in the Bible, scripture, whatever terminology you prefer, that Jesus is God incarnate while God was still in heaven. So the whole Holy Trinity, it's a whole weird thing. Hey, Sailor Mercury Retrograde, we're here talking about how to celebrate the winter solstice. Somebody just asked a question about whether or not Yule has a religious connection, so I was kind of going a little bit of a deep dive into all of that. But yeah, so, and then so the idea is that at the winter solstice, the sun, the god is reborn of the goddess. And I don't know if, they say they think I answered their question. Excellent. I'm glad. But some of the artwork that I did this year, and I meant to show it to you guys today, but like I said, I was struggling with the internet like for 20 minutes before I got this thing rolling, so I didn't get to grab it. But if you've seen it and you really want it, it's not on my website anymore, so I'll at least mention that I created a piece of artwork for Yule that is the Queen of Heaven with the Sun Child, which was based on religious iconography. So kind of based on that sort of modern mythology of the winter solstice. So if you really like it and you want it, I believe it was originally $8. So 75% off means it's $2. If you would like a print of that, I would love to give it to you. Just DM me or let me know in a comment. So anyway, let's get back to, if you have more questions, let me know. I'm going to show you this other item I've been kind of like rolling around in my hand. It's this little incense lamp burner. Now I'm sure it originally had a little top to it, but the top is long gone, sadly. I'm trying to find the listing. I swear it was on here. Let's actually open this, because I think if I can look at things by category, I'll be able to find it. Open link in new tab. And scroll and incense burners. There it is. All right. Yeah. So originally it was $15. So it is. I will let this little bad boy go for $10 today plus shipping if you like it. It is perfect in my opinion for cone incense in particular, or possibly even loose incense, especially if it's the self-igniting powder, which a lot of places sell now. And you can see it has these same kind of cutouts in here, which is quite lovely. And this really lovely engraved patterning on it. And the one thing I meant to mention earlier, when I was showing off this really lovely bowl, which is available for, I think I said $15 if you like it today. But these floral designs in your flowers always represent the idea of hope, new love, and hope, vitality, and I guess love sometimes. We'll go with love. Maybe that was a Freudian slip here. So, so this is available too. And then the final thing I'm going to show you before I go into the one card readings that I usually offer to people if they're interested is this adorable little vintage brass cauldron. So the reason why I picked these items out is because you may or not notice that they're all yellow brass, and yellow brass is often also associated with solar power, solar magic, so on and so forth. But this little guy is super cute. I think this is like 3 inches in diameter, like tops. And he, or she, if you prefer, is typically, suddenly not loading, $22. So I will let this guy go for $18 today if you're interested. Again, DM me or post a comment below, and it could be yours. You can see it's got these cute little handles on it. You can see it. This is actually a really lovely shiny piece. A lot of these vintage pieces I find are not nearly as shiny as this one. Even the inside's really lovely. Usually they're a little bit more dull just because of time and age. So if you're interested in any of those items, let me know. Also, if you are new to me, to my business, I have been in the middle of a transition, moving my business from one place to another, and I have a lot of stock I'm clearing out. Tomorrow and Sunday, I have an online tag sale happening in my Facebook group, where everything is either $20 or $5 and below. So you can get some crazy deals. So if you haven't already joined me on there, I highly recommend it. It is the Heirloom Witches Society on Facebook. Join us. We would love to have you. We would love to have you on the tag sale. And yeah, and I just had a shop update today, so if you haven't checked that out, you can go check that out in my feed and or in my Etsy shop. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So let me know if anybody wants a one-card reading. I have my cards right here, and I would love to hook you up. So I'm gonna give it a second to see if anybody responds. Let's see. And I have someone that sent me a message on Facebook, so I'm just peeking at that. So yeah, so I hope everybody is doing, oh, Michelle would like a one card. Excellent. Hope everyone's doing a much better job of preparing for holidays. Me, I have done. What is a one card reading? It's a tarot card reading where I use only one card. So I've got Michelle, I've got Brooke, and maybe EA Solstice over here if they decide that they're interested. Alright, Michelle. Oh, Michelle! Michelle, you got the sun, which is perfect because we're talking about the solstice. Oh, come on. I want this thing to focus so you can see how pretty the artwork is. Can you see it? There we go. There we go. So you have a fox with a sunflower head and the sun and some plants around it. The sun is one of the most positive cards in the deck. I think that I'm getting this kind of idea, Michelle, that you and I know this for a fact anyway, but that you've been grinding away really, really hard at some things, and that there's something that's about to really, really take off for you, that there's a lot of good things coming. You know, the energy that you're putting in is about to be the energy that you're getting back, so don't let up. Continue going. There are good things on the way. Yay. Alright, now I'm going to do a little bit more shuffling, so we can do Brooke. Alright, Brooke, you've got the Three of Cups. You're very welcome, Michelle. The Three of Cups, this says the Three of Blooms. This deck has does the suits a little bit strangely. But to me, the Three of Cups is always it's sort of like the party card. So I think that I'm getting the feeling that you were recently invited to go on some sort of social gathering, some sort of outing, and you've been kind of on the edge of deciding whether or not you want to go. And if you haven't already, maybe you're going to. You know, but you've been kind of on the edge of well, should I really? I'm not sure if it's safe. And what the cards are basically saying is that you should go. Obviously, be careful. Don't be stupid. Don't be reckless. But that this outing, as long as you're safe about it, is going to be really, really great for your mental and emotional health. And I think that you should go for it. You know, being as safe as possible. And if things go really sideways, then go home. But that, you know, don't pass up an opportunity, you know, if it arises, you know, if it's already arisen or if it's going to arise soon, to go out and socialize just a little bit, because I think you won't regret it. All right, so EA Solstice, one more. Okay. Ooh. You got the World. So we talked earlier about, Brooke says, oh, thank you, makes sense. Perfect, I'm glad. So this is the World, which actually depicts the World Tree. So I don't know if you were here earlier when I was talking about you have to show the World Tree and Yule logs, but this is the World Tree I was talking about, the axis mundi of the cosmology of most shamanic, you know, systems. The idea being that, you know, we exist in here and that there's all this amazing stuff happening around us. We have this upper world, this lower world, and in the Norse cosmology there's actually 9 worlds, which is a whole other story. But the world is such a positive card too. The name of this deck is the Wooden Tarot. I bought it on Etsy. It is not widely published or available. It is gorgeous artwork. Highly recommended. It's kind of got this sort of surreal, creepy, creaturey vibe to it that I'm all about. I'll show you my favorite card in just a minute after I finish with the world here. But the world here is talking about the idea of, I'm getting this sort of feeling that you're currently in a sort of state where you feel encapsulated in a world that is very comfortable. And not in a bad way. You know, some people talk about being comfortable and being complacent, but I don't get that in a bad way, that you're comfortable, not in every way. You know, I don't think everybody's comfortable in every way right now because of the fact that so many of us are forced to be encapsulated, so to speak. But I think that you've kind of found a way to settle into the sort of introspective way of being in the midst of all of this and not being able to, you know, go out and do all the things that you normally can. But I think that's been a very positive thing for you, and it's going to continue to be a very positive thing for you, to kind of do some internal exploration, you know, instead of going out and doing things, but kind of exploring your own mind and doing work and spiritual work within yourself. So if you're not already doing that, you know, that's, I think, going to be a really positive thing for you. All right. That said, let me find one of the card that kind of made me buy this deck. Oh, good, it's right here. Is this one. This is the Fool. Again, I'm trying to get this to focus so you can see it really well. So it's a mouse walking along a snake, and he's about to walk off the snake into its mouth. Oh, you're very welcome here, Solstice. With his little rucksack. I love this. So the Fool in general is always about the idea of being new and fresh to something and having both the hubris and the excitement over something new to the point that you may or may not be paying attention to all of the factors around you. So the idea that the mouse is looking straight ahead, not paying any attention to what's in front of him, but if he really takes another 2 steps, he's going to fall right to that snake's mouth. So, but anyway, that's why I just thought that this was such wonderful imagery, and it was so apt, that I just fell in love with it. And I originally bought, and I'll show you again, I know that I'm getting totally off topic, but the reason why I bought this deck was because originally I went looking for the Oracle deck, which is made by the same artist. I'm trying to see if I can find a really good card to show you here. I don't usually love Oracle decks. I don't tend to connect to them a lot, but I do connect with this one. I'm in love with it. It's very, like, I don't know, down to earth and very easy to use, and the imagery is so straightforward. Oh, here's a cool one. Here's a few. Here's one. So this one's called Labor. So obviously this represents hard work. You can see it's got a honeycomb, and there's a flower. This one is called Deceit. It's a 2-headed white snake. How cool is that? This one's called Reflect, and it's showing the seasons and the color change of an oak leaf. So, just a few examples. Like, I love both of these decks. I actually keep them in the same bag together, because I just feel like, and oftentimes when I read with the tarot deck, I'll use the oracle cards at the same time because I feel like they kind of match. So, anyway, highly recommended. You can find them on Etsy. If you send me a DM and remind me, I can actually send you an Etsy link to the exact listing so that you don't have to go digging around for it. But that said, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. And that, hey, Casamali, I'm actually just wrapping up. We talked about how to celebrate the winter solstice and Yule today. I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope that you have a merry Yule. I hope that you're doing a better job of preparing for the holiday than I am, because I literally have done 0 wrapping, and I'm going to be doing that my entire weekend. There is obviously next, what day of the week is Christmas? My gosh, I don't even know. Christmas is next Friday. Thursday, I'm probably not going to do a live stream next week because it's the holiday, and I'm going to be really crazy busy and doing things with family, so I'm going to take a week off. I hope you all understand, and then I'll be back on January 1st. And hey, the Peacefire, I'm actually just wrapping up a live stream here about how to celebrate Yule. On the 1st, I'm probably going to do another shop update, so you can kind of, plug that in the back of your brains and know that that's a thing that's going to be happening. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. You have a merry, merry Yule, because that's coming up on Monday, and that you find a beautiful way to celebrate Blessed be and take care.